In this second part, I'm going to explain you how you can record and monitor your Ambisonics signal in your DAW. If you haven't watched the first part on how you can connect your Ambisonics microphone to your input device, just make sure to follow the first part in the link in the description below. So as we can see here, I have an empty Dolby Atmos project. You can have any type of project. It can be a stereo project, a 5.1 project, or a Dolby Atmos project. I'm using Dolby Atmos because this is my layout, but it doesn't really matter. So I have my empty project, and the first thing I'm going to do is to create the input for the Ambisonics microphone. And for doing that, we're just going to our audio connections and add a bus in the input section. And the input is going to be first order Ambisonics. Now we're going to select the 4 channels where we have connected our microphone, respecting its order. And now, as you can see, we have sound coming in Nuendo. Next, we're going to create a first order Ambisonics track. The audio input is going to be the input that we just created. And the output is just going to be the output, which in our case is going to be our Dolby Atmos bed. So as you can see, we have audio in our track. However, because Ambisonics microphones record in what we call A format, and for working in the DAW, we need what we call B format, we have to add the transcoder in the first insert of our track. Every single manufacturer of Ambisonics microphones should have provided you with a transcoder or a plugin that converts the A format to B format. In the case of the Soyuz microphone, we're going to use the 013 transcoder. And now we're going to have the correct signal. You can see that in the transcoder, we have the monitor and the quality options. The monitor algorithm is a great algorithm for tracking or recording audio because it's going to give you 0 latency. So you can quickly hear in real time what's going on. Whereas the quality algorithm is going to give you much better quality when transcoding the signal. However, it's going to introduce a little bit of latency. You can change these settings after you have recorded, so you don't have to worry about it. However, I recommend you, whenever you're recording, to use the monitor mode, and whenever you're mixing, to use the quality mode. And now our signal is entering our track as A format, is being transcoded to B format, and finally is being automatically decoded by Nuendo to 712 with Nuendo's own decoder. This means that every insert that is available now in our track is going to work in Ambisonics, which is pretty cool. We could also switch from the decoder that comes included in Nuendo by simply right-clicking on the panel and selecting any of our available decoders. In this case, I'm just going to use the 013 decoder. And now that I have switched the decoder, you can see that our signal is coming in Ambix and is going out to 712. And in the renderer, I'm just gonna down mix it to binaural so that we can hear this signal in YouTube. So if I were to listen to how the signal sounds, you can hear that now my voice is in the center, and now it's going to the left and it's going to the right. So it's pretty cool that it is keeping the 3-dimensional properties. Now let's just add any effect to this track. Let's just say that we just want to add a 3-dimensional reverb. So in our case, we're gonna add a vortex instance. You can see that automatically Vortex sets the input to Ambisonics and the output to Ambisonics. And now our audio should have a 3-dimensional reverb. So if we listen to it, you can hear that now my voice has reverb, and at the same time, it's respecting the 3-dimensional properties. We can change the settings of our plugin, and we can hear that it's always keeping the sound field intact. Now let's upscale this signal to increase its spatial resolution. Whenever you're working in surround or in Dolby Atmos, you always want the best spatial resolution for your signal. And for that, we always recommend upscaling your signal from first order to whatever the highest order the DAW allows you. In the case of Nuendo or Cubase Pro, you can upscale up to third order Ambisonics. So for doing that, I'm just going to delete my track. And I'm going to go again to the input output. And I'm going to delete the input that I created. So we're going back to square one. And now I'm going to create a new bus, and this bus is going to be a third order Ambisonics bus. And in this bus, I'm going to set the first 4 channels to the 4 channels of my Ambisonics microphone in its correct order. And the other inputs, I'm just gonna leave them disconnected. So I'm gonna do that. And now I'm going to create a third order Ambisonics track. And I'm going to set its input to the input we just created. And the output, of course, is going to go to our standard bed. So if I arm this track, you can see that it has now audio. However, again, we have to transcode this audio to go from A format to B format. So in the first insert of our track, we're going to add the transcoder. And then right after the transcoder, we're going to add an upscaler, which is going to upscale our track from first order to third order ambisonic. So in this case, we're going to insert the AB imager upscaler. And finally, we are going to switch the decoder to be a higher order ambisonics decoder. In our case, the AB decoder in higher order. So if we go to switch banners and select AB decoder higher order, you can see now that I am receiving 16 channels of audio, which means that this signal is being upscaled from first order ambisonics to third order ambisonics, and now it's being decoded to 712, which is the width of our bed. This is gonna give you much more resolution whenever you're decoding for Dolby Atmos. You will hear that the three-dimensional properties of the audio around your head are gonna be much more defined. And again, if we were to listen to the signal, you can hear that my voice now is in the center, now I'm going to the left, and now I'm going to the right. So the three-dimensional properties are being kept. And equally, if I wanted to process this signal, I could just add a plugin in our inserts after the upscaler. So let's just try and add one of our plugins. And now we have the stutter plugin here happening in third order ambisonics. And if we were to experiment with it and listen to how it sounds, you can hear that now my voice is sounding with the stutter three-dimensionally in third order ambisonics. And that is really, really cool. So if you have any other questions regarding the workflow in Nuendo or Cubase Pro, do not hesitate to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to try and help you out in your workflow. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers!